Hello fellow artists, and welcome to See Me Paint Florida. My name's Vicki, and I would like to just introduce myself to you for a little bit. And if any of you have seen any of my videos before and you've been through the introduction, you're more than welcome to skip right over it and go right into the painting of the day. I have been an art instructor with the acrylics, canvas type of painting for over 5 years. Most of my clients or my fellow painters never had a brush in their hand, ever. So you can do this. We want you to relax, take it step by step, and really listen for cue words, such as push hard, push light, more paint, more water. Things like that are very, very important to pay attention to. In this introduction, what I'm going to start is with basically your supplies and maybe the things I use. All these things can be bought at your closest hobby store. I myself personally, especially the paints, I go through some of the discount warehouse type art supply companies online. A reason for that, I can buy large quantities. As you can see, these are the type of paints I use. This is the acrylic base, water-based paints. Some are sold in tubes. That is your choice. I feel these last a lot longer. It is an investment at the beginning, but these last you for a very long time. And what I do is, for myself personally, I actually buy the half gallons and refill them up. That's your choice. The other problem is people ask, like, what colors? Remember, if you get blue, red, and yellow, those are the three primary colors that can make any color in the world. So if you don't want to make a big investment, remember, you can mix these colors, such as yellow and red will be the orange, and your blue and red will make your purples. So we have also your toners, which is white and black, and those will make them darker or lighter. So like I said, you can make all colors in the world just with these right here if you want to start out something small, something very, very simple. Other people seem to like to go ahead and buy some oranges, or they like to go ahead and buy the brown, or green, so they don't have to mess with it. That's okay. That's up to you. You start as a beginner the way you want and the way you feel. The other supply you're going to have to need would be some kind of plate. Now, I myself personally use a paper plate. I make sure it's covered with something, whether it be a wax or styrofoam, or you can have your own plate you use all the time, every time. You just put it in the water and wash it out. That's your choice. You will want to get brushes. The brushes I have here is about a 1 inch. This is a natural hair, and then you go down to like a 3/4 inch. You can see it's flat, okay? And then there's another, and they go down smaller in sizes. This is something you will have to experiment with yourself. You're gonna feel, I like this brush and I don't like that brush. What I really do advise you to do, though, don't go out and buy massive expensive brushes that are done with professionals or oils or anything. These are water-based acrylics, and get something in between. And you will find you will like one brush over another. So hang on to it if you do. And that's very common for all artists, like what ones work better for them. So that may be a little bit of experimenting too. You're going to need some water. It doesn't matter if you put it in a disposable cup or if you put in a cup you use all the time. Again, you can just wash it. I have an easel here. These are very inexpensive. You do not need an easel, but a lot of people find it easier to work right at your table, put the chair up, and they have adjustments. These are very inexpensive. You can just pick them up at any hobby store, wherever you are. Find a coupon, that's what I do, and have those. And you'll have this forever. They do fold up flat. And then you have your canvas. This is 11 by 14. You can pick any size you want. You have a certain painting we're going to do, you have a certain spot in the house for it, or whatever, and you want a certain size, buy it. by that size. These are called gallery canvases. That's because they have a canvas on the sides. This is not the flatboard canvas. If you want to do that, then go ahead and get flatboard canvas. Usually flatboard canvas has to be put in a frame. Gallery canvas can be put in a frame or on the wall just the way it is. That again is your choice. Again, this is a 11 by 14. You can pick any size you want. What I do is brief everybody ahead of time about the paints and about the brushes. And this is the intro if you want to move forward, and if you already know this already, if you've experienced it and have already seen my videos. First, I'll start with the paints. Again, water-based acrylics, wash up with soap and water. I do want to warn everybody, there's a lot of pigment in some of these paints, such as reds and blues and things like that. They may get on your carpet and stain. They're not supposed to, but the pigments can be very strong, and it depends what kind of fabric. I would highly recommend to protect any of the area just in case, because mistakes happen, water falls, paint fall, brushes fall. Don't take a chance. Just protect your area. Have an old bed sheet, whatever, and you just roll it up and use it every time. You know, get your stuff ready. That would have been. These paints do require to be adding water to them. So remember that. And the way I explain to them, I can't tell how much water. One, it depends what you're doing. I will instruct you when we're at that to add more water, less water. But how much is, there's no ratio, because you don't know how much paint the person's using versus this. And sometimes they come a little different consistencies. So basically the easiest rule of thumb, if it looks like a watercolor, going on real transparent, really thin, you have too much water. If it's going on thick and mucky, it's not moving for you. You've got to remember these have pores in the canvas, okay? And it's fabric. And if it's too thick, it's not going to fall into the pores, okay? So you have to add water. So experiment. If that's happening to you, get some more drops of water, mix it in, and go back to the canvas, and you feel it out. All artists, including myself, we feel it out all the time. There's no perfect, it's kind of like cooking by scratch, okay? You kind of go with the feel of it and the consistency. The other thing I want to explain about is the brushes. This is very, very important. Remember, they're not pencils, they're not pens, they're not markers. They do not refill themselves, okay? What you get onto the front of them is what you get. So if you ever watched those old shows that had the old ink wells and they would write in pen, get more ink, write pen, get more ink. That's exactly what you'll be doing with these. Don't try to push more paint out of something. It's not there. Many people will be doing something very delicate and the paint runs out and they push harder. I'm pretty much going to tell you what's going to happen. The paint's not in the middle and they push harder and they get this dry mark. What happens to hair? This is hair. It's very delicate if you touch it. You hardly touch it. Just look at this. You hardly touch it and it moves. So remember, you're used to pens and pencils. You can put pressure and nothing happens to it. You can be a heavy writer, a light writer, and nothing happens to it. These will. They move very easy. So always remember that. It's very delicate. So when you push harder, what happens to the hairs? So if you're making a very delicate line, pressure is the number one. It's all to do with pressure. You run out of paint, please don't push harder. What you're doing is this, to the bristles on it, and you're opening it up to an empty spot, and that's all you're doing. Keep those things in mind. Those are very, very important. Pressure is essential. Remembering you must get your paint often, and remembering if you're using water, you get drops of water each time you get more paint. It's not a one-time thing. The other thing is really important, I teach everybody, these brushes are delicate and you want them to last. They're shaped like this for a reason. Notice they're kind of flat like a paddle. Some are a little different for other things that you're doing. Remember, when you're mixing paint, colors, water, you want to flip it back and forth like it's a spatula and squeeze it down. It keeps the bristles nice and pretty. Don't ever stir like this. all you do is paint the plate and it all becomes extremely fat. You want to keep the brush the way it is. And the only way you're going to do that is you use it like this. A lot of times, I don't go into the middle, I do it on the side. My new colors are all on the side. I don't pour it in the middle and paint the plate. I try to keep them in a spot, just like you would do sweeping. You know, you keep everything kind of like in a pile. So it's not all over the plate taking over and you just painted the plate and that's all you really did. So that is important too, as one-on-one with the brushes. Remember, the other things are too, brushes are shaped a different way for many things. Remember, smaller brush, less paint's going to be on the brush, so it's not going to last as long. So think ahead of time. If you're doing a very large area, you definitely want to use your very large brush. Holds more paint, bam, all you're doing is covering the background. You're not really doing anything fancy yet. And so you want to cover as fast as possible. It holds more paint, takes it much further. The other thing is, smaller the brush, again, will have less paint. And two, it gives it a different texture. So that's your choice as an artist, because the more comfortable you get with this, don't stress out about this. We're going to walk through it very smooth, and I don't want you to stress. It's supposed to be fun, and I'm going to show you a lot of the tricks that you thought were amazing that takes 2 seconds to do. So you have a brush like this. If you don't want so many streaks in it, you lay the brush like this and go back and forth. You're making a skinny little line. You hold the brush like this, straight on like this, and barely touch it and go down. That's the reason they're shaped like this. You can use the corners, the sides. Main thing I want to explain, if you've never worked with this and never did it before, is you're not going to go to the canvas and just paint like you're painting a house. Maybe the background, but that's it. You're going to experiment with this brush. You're going to do many different ways, many different situations, and you're going to see how it works for you. So the brush does a lot of the work for you and you're not struggling. It comes out the way you have the vision that you have with that. So obviously you clean the brushes. When you do clean the brushes, don't just swirl. You do have to be a little brutal and kind of agitate it. It doesn't come out if you don't. So you must have to do that. Some people clean their water often. That's up to you. It's not really necessary. It doesn't affect it when you put the water into the paint. So your water gets a little dirty, it's not going to hurt anything. Again, that's up to you. The other thing I want to bring up that I did forget about the paints, remember, when you start adding colors, you want to change a little bit, get a little creative. Remember, in painting, more shades, more color is better. We don't like just red. We want red, orange, yellows, everything. We want more color, the better. More crazy colors, the better. Things like red, blue, black will change the color really fast. So you want to delicately add when you're doing this. And, excuse me, the other thing would be the yellows and whites can be transparent. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, here we are. We're going to ready to paint, fellow artist. And what we're going to do today is going to be one of the most simple paintings that you can do that people like. Everybody seems to like the beach. No matter where you live, they seem to like the beach. I'm going to show you a very easy way of doing it and get started with it. And I do have a few more colors here. We really just need the blue, the white, and a little bit of brown. If you don't have brown, you mix all three primary colors together, yellow, red, and blue, and you can create a brown if you don't have that. Now, I did add a little bit of yellow and things. I may use those, I may not. Remember, don't put too much paint on there. You can't put it back into the bottle, but you can always add some. So just remember, I have a little more. I got two different sections because I know I'm going to be using a lot of white. I have my brushes. They're already in the water. You'll always keep your brushes in the water. It keeps them ready, clean, and ready for you at all times. Today I'm using a 14 by 11 gallery canvas. He's got the sides on it. It's a little fat. It says wood in the back. Remember, if you use a gallery canvas, that the sides will show when it's on the wall if you're not putting a frame. So always remember, we do paint the sides at the same time, and I'll follow you through with that. So here we go. Let's make a water scene with some sand. Be done in no time. Now, whether you are painting in your nice quiet home or sitting on the porch alone, or you decided to put this YouTube up on your TV and invite some friends over and have a gathering and have a fun painting thing together, that would be great. Some people do wear a shirt or an apron. That's your choice. What we want to do first in this is make an imaginary line where we want our water. The wonderful thing about nature, it's not perfect, so don't worry how perfect your line is. You do want to kind of make sure it's straight though. A lot of people will paint, it's called basically back and forth. Make sure if we're doing anything that goes back and forth, you keep your arm straight. Don't sag it down, or do we call the windshield wiper move, all right? Pay attention to that, because your brush strokes are going to show the sky goes from east to west. You can throw a little bit of curve in there, that's fine, but basically it goes from east to west. If you're going to draw a line, you can use any brush you want. It doesn't matter. Please take this. I've got water. Do not knock the water out of it. And what you're going to do is, see, I'm squeezing that water in there, making it really thin. Never use straight paint to draw with, because we want to paint over it. Really water it down, and that's going to be kind of our ink. I am going to put the water about here. You can decide where you want to put yours, and if it's not straight, actually going back and forth faster makes it more straight. People seem to think going slow, but actually it makes your hand move. So you kind of do like that Zorro thing, go real quick. That's going to be the water. That's just our guide. Now I made this a little darker than I would normally because I want you to be able to see it. Then I'm going to kind of decide just about right here is where I'm going to have the sand start. These are nothing but just little decoys for me, okay? We're going to do blending first. You can use a larger brush like this, or you can use a smaller brush. Just remember, it takes a little longer. Either one will be fine. If you want it to be very sharp, you put the brush like this. If you want it wider, you go like that and dust it. First and most important thing about blending is, one, don't make it too thick. If you make your paint too thick and you don't break it down and it doesn't spread nice, people ask me, how do I know how to put it on? The way you put it on for blending is, if any of us have painted a wall and we were running out of paint and we didn't want to buy any more, you know how you spread it and spread it and spread it to make sure you have enough paint? That's how you're going to do it. You're going to flip the brush back and forth and get it all in there. And please go off the edge. A lot of people want to just stay in the middle. Go off the edge, and this is the motion that you're going to be going. Okay, that's the motion that you're going, just a back and forth motion. And what I'm going to do first is put basically a base on it. This is going to be the sky, the water, the sand, okay? And we'll put a base and base. Two things most important in blending: not too thick, too heavy a paint, spread it out nice and thin like you're running out of paint. And two, do not wait too long to let it dry. Unfortunately, when it comes to blending, you don't do it slow. Now, the two things you really want to pay attention in blending is not making it too heavy. Very important. You want to spread it out like you're running out of paint. And the second thing you really want to think about is that you can't let it dry. So unfortunately, when you're first doing this, you're very nervous. So you like going very slow. Don't do that. It's like a tie-dye. It's very easy, very fast, and everyone's is going to be different, okay? So you want to move quick so the other color doesn't dry. How important is it for you to make the exact color on your plate? None. You can mix your colors on the canvas as it's wet the same way you mix your colors on the plate. Don't stress that. All I'm going to do is take a little bit, as you can see, I took a little bit of blue. I'm going to cut this off like it's butter. You just pull it. Remember, you want enough paint for your project. So don't make just a tiny bit because I've got to cover this whole sky. What I want you to do is decide on your blue. Did you see I just added water? I ducked my brush in, added some water, squeeze it in like I'm pushing down on like a spatula. Okay, just like that. Just like spatula. Now, do not worry about mixing it all the way. Please, people spend way too much time stirring it. You don't have to. You can mix it up right on the canvas. And it actually turns out better if you don't mix your paint all the way. It puts pretty little streaks. See how fast that's going on? I'm doing my motion of laying this way, going all the way across, go all the way off the edge, flip it, and go back. Now if you get some runs like this, don't worry about it. We do have to worry about runs. Don't worry about that. We're going right over this, right into that was from the water getting into the casing. Okay, I want you to put a base blue on here, whatever blue you like, and fill it all the way up. Back and forth motion, all the way, and just kind of, just get it filled in. Please take your brush off the canvas. Do not stay in the middle like this. Go off the edge, like you fall off a cliff, come back. At this time, you do have a color that you created. It would be real important right now, or a really good idea, to just take this blue and get your sides very quickly, and the top. Just get a base little color on it. Okay, no big deal. And do the other side. That's already done. You're not going to have to worry about it. And the painting's going to look like it goes all the way around the same way. Okay? We have our base color on. All right? This water usually does not happen here. I apologize. The reason for that was it was coming out of the casing of the brush. Sometimes you do have to watch. It gets caught up in there. Here's the easy part. This is the fun part. A lot of times the sky is much blue at the top. This is all you have to do. Take a little teeny drop of blue, straight blue, throw it up here like this. Do you see I'm doing that? I'm not making lines. I'm throwing different little shapes. Now I'm going to wipe my brush off on the plate. I'm going to pick up some chunks of white. Do you see that is like that? Do not clean the brush. Do not clean the brush. Throw these chunks of white in random areas. You can even throw some white up here. Okay? Once that's done, you can take your brush and kind of clean it and wipe it off. Some people have a little piece of paper towel next to them. That's really handy. Just take a little piece of paper towel and go ahead and wipe it and keep it next to you and wipe the brush off. Do not put it in the water, okay? Do not put it in the water. You just want to wipe off the excess paint, and this is how easy it is to do your sky. I want you to walk it, lay the brush like this. I'm going to do it this way so you can see. You lay your brush like this, and just go like this all the way across. Go off, flip it, go this way all the way across, just like a machine, and walk it all the way to the top. Now, you may not like these streaks, so you can go back and do it one more time. You can throw a little, go ahead and throw a little swirl in there, okay? And come back up. And here's the most important thing. The most important thing in blending. You gotta know when to stop. If I keep painting this back and forth, it's no different than stirring. So what's going to happen to it? It's going to be one color. So when you see the streaks, they look good, they look like a sky, you're happy with them, please put the brush away. All right? Weapons if you say, oh, don't have enough blue here. I want some white clouds to kind of look up. No problem. Touch some of the blue. Please throw it in there inconsistent. No straight lines randomly. Go ahead. And you can go ahead and touch some more white in some random areas. Wipe the brush off on paper and do it again, and you added more blue where you wanted it, and whatever. Swirl a little bit if you want. There's a couple other little tricks you can do. You let that set. Got a little swirl in there. Basically, I went back and forth. But every once in a while, you saw me kind of come down and come back off the canvas. Don't stop in the middle. If you make a dead stop, I will show you. It shows. The dead stop shows. Always fade it away. Fade it away, okay, off to the edge. You can take chunks, big chunks, of kind of white in random areas. Wipe your brush very gently. Go this way, and this way, and this way. And you can leave chunks, and it may look like clouds in there. You can switch brushes to give different textures. You can go ahead and take and play around with this. Take some chunks with this brush. I call it number 3. It's about 3/4 of an inch, and it'll make like little chunks. Use the little tip. See how the tip does that? Wipe the brush off. I don't have my paper towel. I should. And gently go back and forth one time. Add some more blue up here if it became too light. You can keep toying with this, but get it to the point that you are happy and walk away. I always like going all the way down and kind of coming all the way up. Did you see how this kept changing over and over? That's the easiest way of doing it. Again, we want it darker blue at the top. That's why we laid the blue up there. Decide on your brush that you're going to use and glide it, the wide end, walk it down and walk it up. They will complement each other and throw streaks in there. All right, that's the easiest way of making a sky. You want to see those streaks. You want to see blues. You want to see whites. You want to see dark blues, all blending together. And then please stop. Okay? The water is next. We're going to take this brush here because it's got a nice tip to it. We want the water a little bit different color. You can do a number of things. You can add a touch of black or brown to your water. You can add a touch, a little bit of yellow, but I want you to be careful with those colors. Tiny bits at a time because they're very strong. So what I'm going to do is, remember, the water is darker up here because it's deeper, and it gets lighter down here. So we're going to kind of do the same principle as we did with the sky. But I want this to be very deeper, darker, so do you see how I'm getting my paint? I'm flipping it like this, keeping it over there. I am not dipping it like this. Do not do that. Do not stir like this. You flip it like it's a spatula. You can touch a little brown to darken it up. Be very careful, because it does change it. I'm holding the brush just like this. And see that little tip? This is going to be all about pressure, everybody. Do not change your pressure. Whatever pressure you have you start, you're going to run it all the way across the same pressure. Important, dip some water, squeeze it in there. This will make it glide. Got it? Everybody done that? We're going to barely touch the canvas, keep the same pressure, and walk it all. I'm not changing my pressure. If it changes a little, that's okay. And if it doesn't make it all the way across, don't push harder. Squeeze a little water, get some more paint, and then you can come back this way. Remember, it's water. It's not going to be perfect. Again, we created a whole new color. It's a different color, okay? So what I'm going to do is go on each side and, and I'm going to paint my side. So this way, it's the same color all the way around. All right, so we don't want too many lines, right? So what we're going to do is grab that darker color again, and we're just going to kind of do this. All right? Don't make, we got our nice crisp line. If your line up here is not nice and crisp, meaning you don't see like little fiber pieces and it's dry, That's because you didn't have enough paint and you didn't have enough water. So recharge your brush again, a little bit of water, squeeze it down there really good, and you should be able to, and it should look nice and crisp, almost like a marker did it. All right, that's what you're looking for. All right, again, throw a little of this color around. We want it inconsistent. Stay away. Here's our kind of our line for our beachy area, remember? The easiest way to do this is throw a little of your color. Don't go down to this line where our beach is. Leave that open a little bit. You don't need to clean your brush. You can get some water and just grab some white. So everybody just follow along here. I know I may be going a little too fast for some because they're really, really nervous. I get it. But this will show you how fast this is done, and that you don't have to worry so much about being perfect because it's water, it's nature. So don't kill yourself too much. We want this water to turn really, really light blue. And we don't want it to dry on us too much either. So what you can do is you can get a little water if you want. Don't clean the brush, but grab a large chunk of white. Start throwing this white across this area. All right? It's hard to see on here, I know, but where it's like the water gets real shallow. This is all you have to do. You can throw some white up here if you want. All right? Did you notice I used the wide end of the brush? You can use a skinny. Remember, when it comes to the water, you can use the wide or this end. Either way, this way or this way, it gives it different looks. All right? We're going to do the exact same thing we did up here. Is that you're going to go from one end all the way off the edge, and I want you to go in. Be very, very careful you don't cross that line. Remember our line at the top? Careful with that. You can have a little bumps in it because it's water, and I want you to slowly just go off the edge. It should be gliding like an ice skating rink, and you made water. That's it. You want your water a little more blue, throw a little another wave up here, add a little white, but always go with an empty brush, and that means you wipe it off. You don't put it in the water, you just wipe it off. You go from one end, and if you want to do a little of a swirl, go ahead, don't be tense, and I want you to dap your sides. Dap the sides, we want to paint the sides, and you can throw the white a little ways down too. Go ahead and throw the white a little ways down. You notice I just kind of moved it down a little. Nothing's perfectly straight, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the sand. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of sand. You go up north and there's sand that's got a little brown in it, and you have sand, you go down south and it looks a little more gray. You're going to just put a touch of brown, okay? We're going to have two sets of paint. We're going to have some white. Don't use up all your white. And we might make a really, really light tan. The main thing is different tones. Nothing is solid white. Now go ahead, clean your brush, smash it down there, clean it really good. That cleans it all out to start the next color. You want to make sure you're using Snow White. See how it's white? You can't see it, it's white. And go off the edge and go all the way across and go up to the blue. But don't go into the blue too much. If you touch it a little, it's okay. So back and forth, I added a little water to my white. I squeezed it in like a spatula and squeeze into the brush, come all the way down here and go right up to the blue, but don't really cross the line. You can dabble your sides too, okay? That's it. Now what do? I might take let me see if I can get that in there for you guys. Maybe touch the tiny little corner of brown. Come over here. Mix it with white. You can maybe touch a little yellow. I don't know. That's up to you. But we want to tone this brown down. Did you notice I kind of made it like a really light tan? Go ahead and randomly, don't mix it all the way. Again, if you don't mix your paints all the way on this plate, it turns out better. It's the opposite of what you think. you can actually take some deeper brown, okay? And you can, and I want you to put these in weird areas, okay? All right. What we do now, wipe our brush off, whether it be on your plate or whether it be on a paper towel, and I want you to do the same thing. And you can swirl this a little bit, because you know, people walk in the sand and it makes marks, okay? You want more color than that, you want a little more sand mark, just add a little more of your mixed tannish brown, random areas. And remember, you want some darker tan, white, and lighter tan. You don't want it one color. So when it gets that way, please stop painting. There's no such thing as fixing it, okay? Everybody knows when a parent or themselves cut their bangs and they kept saying, oh, let me fix this. And then the right is too long. And then they said, let me fix this. And next thing you know, you're bald. Be careful about those little words in your head. I need to fix this. You got to know when to leave it alone. Again, you're going to do the same system. Empty brush, just scraped off, wiped off real good. Really good wiped off and scraped off. You can use a paper towel, whatever, but just don't get water. Water's what we don't want. And just go back and just glide it. Get a couple different tones and colors and leave it alone. Now you can go in to the blue a little bit. Just don't go back down. Did you hear that? Come from here, nice and gentle, and go up into the blue. Mix it in a little bit so it looks like pieces of the water. That's it. That's it. You're done. This is your basic water and the sky type of thing. We're not putting palm trees or anything. This is a very basic, easy 101 just to get you started and get comfortable with the paints. Some people wait for the blue to dry a little bit and they'll put chunks like this, like it's clouds. Now how you do that is you do a chunk and you very lightly touch the tip and fade it away. Always be gentle. Change the size. Don't make anything like a single line. I threw a chunk up here and I took the tip and I just faded away. You got to make sure you fade it away. And it kind of represents a little cloud. You can do those things. That's something you want to practice with. You let this set up for just a little bit. Go, you don't want it dry completely. You throw the chunk of white on there. You take the tip of the brush, just the tip, and you just fade it away. You can come back and change a little bit of your brush. You can dust it like this maybe a little bit, because we don't want things to look like we're making lines. You want weird shapes. So play with that a little bit. Play with the paints. If it really, you're not happy with it, all you do is take a brush, go back and forth, make it one color, and start all over. All right? Make sure you dabbled your sides. Make sure when this dries a little bit, you flip it upside down, paint the bottom a little bit, and it's ready to put on the wall.